The story begins with a man named Uno. He is sitting inside a car with his daughter, Tiny, carefully checking the weather forecast. But the strange thing is, the weather turns out to be completely different from what was predicted. It starts to worsen gradually. Uno appears a bit worried for some unknown reason. The true reason behind his concern will be revealed later, and it will be shocking. For now, Uno waits in the car with his daughter Tiny, hoping the weather clears up. Soon, his friend Leonard arrives. Leonard works nearby at a weather forecasting company. Uno had asked him for some confidential data, which Leonard secretly brings to him. This entire process is completely illegal. They were doing it behind everyone's back. Uno collects all the data from Leonard, but Leonard warns him, saying they need to stop doing this immediately. If the security officers find out, they could all be arrested, and even Tiny's future could be ruined. But something unknown is scaring Uno, and he feels the urge to leave immediately. Moments later, security officers get a hint of what's going on and come straight to the scene to catch them. Uno knows he can't let his daughter get caught, so he quickly starts driving away. Leonard begs Uno to stop, but he doesn't listen. The officers catch Leonard and arrest him for the crime. Poor Leonard had only been trying to help Uno, and now he's stuck. A few days later, the news spreads. Uno has disappeared with his car. His daughter Tiny was left behind and eventually ends up in a foster home where she grows up. Years pass by, and Tiny is now a grown-up. But she still remembers how her father mysteriously vanished all those years ago. Where did he go? She has no clue. Her life continues in and out of foster homes. Tiny loves to explore. Along with her friends, she often sneaks off to strange and mysterious places. One day, she ends up at a secret government-authorized site where entry is strictly prohibited. But Tiny doesn't care about the rules. She and her friends sneak inside. Soon, security officers are alerted. All her friends run away, but just as Tiny is leaving, she runs into a group of police officers. One of them is named Tommy. Tommy has known Tiny for years and often looks out for her. She scolds Tiny and warns her not to go to restricted places like that again. If Tommy hadn't been there, Tiny might have ended up in jail for years. Still, Tiny doesn't seem like the kind of person who listens easily. She only cares about fulfilling her thirst for adventure. The next day, Tiny sees a news story in the newspaper. It reports that a red car fell from the sky and landed on a nearby farm. When she sees the photo of the car, she is shocked. It looks exactly like her father's car, the same one that disappeared years ago. How could her father's car fall from the sky onto a farm? Tiny is desperate to find out. She immediately asks Tommy about it, claiming it's her dad's car and she needs to understand how it's all connected. But Tommy brushes it off, saying it's just a coincidence. Nothing more. But Tiny, being stubborn, refuses to let it go. She sneaks into the farm where the crash happened, carefully avoiding the police security around it. Once inside, she examines the red car closely and finds several tapes recorded by her father. This confirms it is indeed her father's car. But then where had it been all these years? And how did it suddenly fall from the sky? These questions keep spinning in Tiny's mind. Determined, she begins investigating and eventually finds her way into a UFO department, a secret research agency that studies time travel, beings from other worlds, and countless other unexplained phenomena. Tiny noticed that the people at the department also had the same newspaper, the one reporting the red car falling from the sky. And the head of this department turned out to be none other than Leonard, Uno's best friend, the same man introduced at the beginning of the story. Tiny went straight to Leonard and told him everything related to her father. She explained how her father had gone missing years ago, and now his red car had fallen from the sky. This couldn't just be a coincidence. There had to be a bigger reason behind it, something they weren't understanding yet. Leonard and his teammates felt the same way. They decided the only way forward was through research. Only after proper investigation could they reach any conclusions. They brought Tiny onto their research team and headed toward the weather station, right near the place where Uno had disappeared. They first marked out a territory, deciding not to cross a certain boundary, since security officers might be stationed there. They began setting up tents and establishing communication lines. They used walkie-talkies to stay in contact. Now, all they could do was wait for some clue to surface. Tiny continued her investigation alongside Leonard, but something didn't sit right with her. If this was just a small research center, then why were there so many supercomputers and such heavy fencing all around? Something was definitely off here. Tiny realized this and wanted to extract a data chip. But just then, they saw some security guards. One of them was accompanied by a researcher, and when Leonard looked closely, he was shocked to recognize her. She was Kiki, his best friend. Leonard immediately asked everyone to stay back and approached Kiki on his own. Kiki was startled to see Leonard there and asked what he was doing. Leonard made up a story that he was collecting tree samples for a different type of research. But during the conversation, Leonard casually asked Kiki about the security setup and the high-tech computers in a restricted area. Kiki finally explained that they were setting up a new department here. Their mission was to explore extraterrestrial life and investigate the strange, unexplainable phenomena occurring on Earth. They were trying to uncover what humans couldn't understand. While Kiki and Leonard were talking, Tiny had sneaked toward the supercomputers and extracted a data disk. As soon as she did, alarms began blaring. When Tiny tried to exit, the doors automatically locked. She was trapped, and all the security guards were alerted. Leonard and his team realized this had put them in danger. So Leonard quickly loaded his team into their van, broke down the door, and reached Tiny. She jumped into the van just in time, and they raced away from the site. Kiki, shocked by what had happened, ordered all security guards to pursue them. The data chip Tiny had taken was extremely sensitive. It likely contained the entire research data from the supercomputer. Leonard drove the van at top speed to avoid getting caught. Meanwhile, Tiny connected the data chip to her computer to see what was on it. After closely examining the contents, they discovered sequences, symbols that seemed to manipulate gravitational force. Tiny recognized the symbols. She had seen similar ones in her father's old notebooks, but back then, she hadn't understood what they meant. That's when Leonard finally revealed the truth to Tiny. He told her that her father, Uno, had long suspected something was wrong with the weather reports. The weather never matched the forecasts. It seemed like someone or something was manipulating it and changing it at the last moment. Leonard explained that all of this was happening because gravitational forces were being altered. And clearly, this wasn't something a human could do. It had to be the work of a more advanced species, possibly aliens from another world, who were observing or even interfering with Earth in secret. Tiny, deep down, had begun to suspect the same thing. But after Leonard explained things to her, Tiny began to understand. It really could be connected to extraterrestrial life, advanced aliens. While all the security officers were still chasing the van, Tiny suddenly looked up at the sky. She saw shiny red beams forming a triangle, moving steadily in a single direction. She immediately told Leonard, and they began following the strange lights in the sky. But after a short while, the lights vanished completely, just disappeared as if nothing had happened. Everyone was left in shock by what they had just seen. For now, they needed to find a safe hiding place. Otherwise, the police would catch them. Everyone quickly returned to their own homes, since Kiki had only seen Leonard. She wouldn't recognize Tiny or the others. Meanwhile, we see Tiny going through the data on her laptop. She had recovered a huge amount of information, proof that other civilizations, far more intelligent and technologically advanced than humans, did exist. Just maybe her father Uno already knew about this, but he could never explain it to anyone. Then she headed out to question Leonard directly. Tiny, now on high alert, quickly rushed to the secret department where her team was gathering. Everyone was growing cautious because it seemed like the truth was slowly surfacing. Tiny told everyone that ever since her father's disappearance, a secret organization had been investigating another civilization, aliens, who were altering Earth's gravitational field. These strange fluctuations had been detected by her father long ago. He tried to warn people, but unfortunately, he vanished under mysterious circumstances before he could. Soon, police officers showed up near their department. As soon as Tiny and her friends got the news, they jumped into a van and drove straight to Leonard's secret hideout. Leonard lived just outside the city to stay off the radar. There, he gave Tiny a special book written by her father, filled with equations. These equations were beyond human understanding. Only an alien civilization could truly grasp them. But Tiny was determined to solve them. As Leonard and Tiny stepped outside, they once again saw that same red light in the sky. Things were getting more and more complicated now. So, the next day, they began talking to locals, people who could serve as eyewitnesses. They asked questions about anyone who had mysteriously disappeared from the area. They started tracking the families of those who had gone missing, hoping to gather information. And soon, they found a pattern. Every disappearance was connected to one particular location. Leonard mapped out all the missing cases, and in a short time, they had gathered enough data to pinpoint a central spot. That one place was the very spot where all the people had vanished. Tiny, Leonard, and the rest of the team decided to head to that mysterious location and investigate it themselves. Just then, a local man named Gunnar arrived. Gunnar kept staring intently at Leonard. Leonard invited him to join their research team. After all, as a local, Gunnar might know many things about the area. But Gunnar refused. He didn't want to be part of their research. Instead, he intended to continue his own investigation independently. Since Leonard and Tiny didn't have much time, they proceeded straight to the center point they had identified for exploration. Meanwhile, Gunnar, back at his home, was making inquiries with a police officer about that red car, Tiny's father's car. In fact, Gunnar even expressed interest in purchasing the damaged car. After spending a long time researching and reaching the targeted location, Leonard's team found nothing. Tiny was growing increasingly frustrated. All she wanted was a clue, anything, to learn what really happened to her father. The rest of the team tried to encourage her and calm her down. Getting angry wasn't going to help uncover the truth. On the other side of the story, we see the organization that Kiki worked for. When the heads of the organization discovered that crucial data had been stolen from their supercomputer, they began investigating Kiki herself. How could such a thing happen under her watch? They even suspected that Kiki might have planned the theft. She was suspended for a while, and disciplinary action was announced against her. Feeling disheartened, Kiki packed up her computer and left. But just as she was leaving, Tommy showed up. Tommy informed Kiki that she no longer had permission to be part of the official investigation. But Tommy reassured her, promising that she would continue the work on Kiki's behalf. Trusting her, Kiki handed over the laptop to Tommy, hoping she would extract the information and locate the missing data chip. Back with Leonard and his team, we see them throwing a surprise celebration for Tiny. They had brought a cake to cheer her up and help her feel better. Tiny was moved by their support. Leonard even gave her a badge, officially welcoming her to their organization. It was called UFO, a research division for unexplained and extraterrestrial phenomena. Tiny and her entire team are on a new mission to find a way to recreate the wormhole, to enter the correct timeline, and to rescue her father no matter what it takes. And that, my friends, is where our story ends.